Rick Marks here, and I wanted to continue on the discussion around the engine and the company being more like an engine than it is top-down, bottom-up management, which is when I did some brief management training at university, a lot of it was talking about these structures. And I'm sure these structures have been around for many years, and I'm sure these structures have stood the test of time. But I don't necessarily think that they're relevant today to business. And that's where I think we've moved to a model of the engine. And if we start to view businesses as an engine, it'll help everybody within the company, the organisation, to realise that if you're doing the piston, you're looking at other components. And I know there are a lot of people that are like, oh, you know, and I've been down with the worker bees per se, and some of those people's attitudes towards, or management just do nothing, management just sit there all day, management whinging kind of, because management has a different output. Management has different KPIs, for want of a better term. They have different objectives. So comparing yourself with another doesn't equate, because you're hired to do something. And if you don't like what you're hired to do, you have the option, suck it up or move on. If you feel like you're not suited in that position, then that's when you need to look at things and go, where is my opportunities? Is it the company? And I've talked about it before, when, you know, assessing when is it time to move on. Is the company no longer resonating with your beliefs personally? If the company is fine and you've not got an issue with the company, it's just necessarily maybe the department or, you know, the job specifically you're doing, then that's where you seek opportunities for where else could you go. And this can be a conversation with your manager directly or other leadership around, like, I don't want to be a frontliner forever, and this is where I want to go. I want to, you know, dabble with this technology, or and that's where they can work with you to steps you could take in order to achieve that, I guess, output you're wanting, the career goals. And that's the whole point of leadership. And I see a lot of managers and stuff get lost in this. Your leadership is all about helping your staff get to where they're going. And my teams that I've run, quite frankly, I don't care if they stay with the company or not. And I don't want that to come across as like a bad way, but it's that I would rather them be happy and doing what they want to do than have them stay working for me because they feel obligated or required to do that. So I'm a big believer in enabling. I'm a big believer in encouraging and giving opportunity and trying to help others to achieve their greatness. Because for me personally, I see that as more success when people who are working with me or have worked for me are doing what they are happiest doing. They're not just sticking around because, you know, Rick's a real good manager or a real good, you know, team lead or a real good whatever. I would rather them pursue their own happiness and pursue their own goals, and be able to tick at the end of the day and go, I'm happy with where I'm sitting. So when you start to change that perception into we're all companies running like a motor and we're all companies have moving parts within it, this is where, again, you've got your timing element. And once it gets out of timing, it'll still run, it'll still function, you can still drive the vehicle. It's just not going to be as efficient. And this is what a lot of companies may not actually even realize, is you're running at a limited capacity. And that can be even that you're missing components, and they could be small components in your engine, but they can also be key components. The spark plug could be missing, so you miss firing on one of the, on one of the cylinders. So you'll continue to go on, but you're no longer fuel efficient because you're just wasting fuel into that cylinder. It's not even firing. You see, you've got all these parts that are doing their bit, but that component's not there. And I think that's partly why a lot of people, that's my purpose, I suppose. So that's what I feel my purpose is, and what Ultimate Marks is there for, is to do that assessment and kind of look for what parts are missing, what are your objectives, what are you trying to achieve, and why are you not able to achieve them, and then look, like, drill down, strategize, and create methods, systems, and processes to be able to achieve those outcomes. How does this play on your psyche? And that's another huge factor of a lot of staff. When companies still operate in a top-down dictatorship type model, that also has a lot of fixed mindset, and that's what I've been talking about before. And it can hurt the staff because they feel like they're trapped. And I don't think any company works well when people feel trapped. Trapping is almost like puts us into a defensive mechanism. It doesn't achieve the best outcomes for anyone because your working output is no longer optimum. I've also seen in modeling the wrong fuel being put into the company, and the wrong oils being used in engines. These components all make up and make it so that it runs smoothly. It makes it so things like communication, there are a lot of fundamentals and a lot of psychologicals. If you've noticed a lot of my videoing, I record my videos at eye level. So I'm talking to you, I'm talking with you. I'm not talking down to you, I'm not talking up to you. And those little things, I've seen so many companies since the rise of virtual, they are using their laptop and they're looking down at the camera. And that in itself gives you the psychology that you're less than that person. It's a talking down to. You don't even have to be saying anything negative or anything that's like derogatory towards it. However, our brain and the way we perceive it, and that's no different to like bigger statured people that stand and look down on someone little, they just naturally will feel like they've got to defend themselves. They feel vulnerable. And I think that's where like all these things, a lot of companies, a lot of CEOs aren't even aware of. They're not even thinking about. But they're the little things that the human responds in certain ways. And so the more that all these little bits get put together, makes it so that some people who may never have met their CEO, but they've been to all of their town halls, they've been and heard a lot of their talkings to, and they wonder if they can trust them. You know, there's those little things, insignificant details, but as far as the CEO goes, he just pulled his laptop out and hosted his webinar. He wasn't thinking about whether the camera was here or the camera was there. Attention to detail. A good CEO, a good leader will always make sure they're aware of all of those elements that are within their power. Takes another couple of seconds. It's not like you've got to spend another hour thinking about it, but you've got to, you know, I'm always mindful of how I am recording, how I am portraying, because at the end of the day, I'm not smarter than you, and I'm just trying to provide you with the value and information which is spin around in my head. So I hope you've enjoyed that video. Have a fantastic day, and you'll see me on the next video. But in the meantime, if you're a CEO or a leader or a manager of any sort, think about the little things. Find what you're doing, assess what you're doing, and maybe even in your next team meeting or whatever, record it. And see whether or not you're talking down, whether or not you're, the language you use and stuff like that. I find sometimes that can confuse and disrupt people from more of a psychological aspect. You can't please everybody, but at the end of the day, you've got to please the masses, and you've got to realize that these are the silent triggers, and this is why a lot of companies are struggling, is because people are reading between the lines. Have a fantastic day. Bye for now.